We're in for a really special treat this afternoon. Already been listening to the sound check, and Maria the Mexican in the studio and sound great today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much for having us.
And, we've also had the luxury of having an early copy of the new CD, which is going to be in full release tomorrow over at the Voodoo Lounge, South of the Border Moonlight. Congratulations. It sounds great.
Thank you so much.
So I just sort of get around to it real quickly. You've got a huge collection of musicians here, and they're all going to be at the Voodoo Lounge tomorrow night. This is a big band.
Yeah, it is. We're always excited when we get to play with everybody and have our full sound.
So, to me, when I listen to the new record, it feels like you all have always been sort of a hybrid, but you just keep growing. And do you feel like you're still comfortable with the names that you've given to the sounds that you're putting out there? That's always the struggle, right? To figure out how to describe yourself to other people.
Absolutely. It's definitely been a process for us. We feel like this next album is a little bit more rootsy and sort of true to our nature. So, we can throw in some Spanish songs, but we also have the rock element as well. So we're kind of liking roots rock right now to describe ourselves.
Yeah. The new album, South of the Border Moonlight, I was going to ask you what the songwriting process was like for this one.
Garrett is pretty much our main writer. We like to say that we steal his songs from him because a lot of them are songs that he wrote on his own or we took out of his very large library of music. And then we kind of add our own thing to them. And then El Sueño is a song that we used to sing in the mariachi for years.
And we'll get into that, just the whole mariachi background, because that's a story of its own, right?
Definitely.
So where was this one recorded?
The majority of this was recorded at another recording company in ARC in Omaha, Nebraska. And there was quite a few little solo additions to the music recorded here in Kansas City, Weights and Measures, Element Recording.
Electric Loverland in Mission, Massive Sound. There was Off the Wall Studios in Nashville. A couple tracks got done there. Also, we used Lane Gibson Studios in Burlington, Vermont. So we got
Sounds like y'all didn't work on this at all.
a special moment. We also had Charles Eller Studios in San Pancho, Mexico, just north of Puerto Vallarta. We got to do some recording there as well. So,
well, that's pretty wild, all over the place. We'd love to hear some music today if we could.
Absolutely. This song is called Carried Away. It's the first song off of South of the Border Moonlight.
In my arms.
That's Maria the Mexican on the bridge. That was beautiful. You know, well, first of all, we've alluded to the big band, and of course, Maria and Tess up front, and we've already mentioned Garrett Nordstrom. We play his Situation on the radio as well here on the bridge. But you want to introduce the rest of the band?
Absolutely. Garrett, go ahead.
We have Bradford Hoops on the keyboards and Hammond B3 organ, and Jason Hubbard playing the drums, and Craig Q on the bass, Jason Riley on the guitar over there.
There you go. I think it's just reading up about Jason, it's just another indication of what a hybrid this is, that his influences are everything Hendrix to Segovia. It's pretty hard to define what you all do. So you just got back from Puerto Vallarta.
Yes, we did.
So what's the reaction when you go down and play down there? Because it's got to be, like, culturally, it's just a completely different world, right?
Well, actually, we were very well received down there, and we actually played at the San Pancho Music Festival, and there was a lot of Mexicans as well as Americans, expats, and they're kind of living a similar life as we are. They live in Mexico, but they're American, and we are Mexican-American, and this is like just a representation of Tess and I's sort of being, how our experience is growing up in a mariachi band and feeling really Mexican and celebrating this sort of cultural element, and then at the same time being American as well.
One of the things that really I kind of think surprised us when we went through the record is that, like, the song that we chose to play is in Spanish, and you are bilingual. And how do you choose? How do you make that choice?
Well, we always try to incorporate the traditional songs, weaving them in terms of performances. It really depends on the gig, because some people are really into the Spanish songs, and quite truthfully, those have seemed to be the ones that people are the most interested in, El Cascabel from our last album especially. But we always try to stick to what we feel we are most authentic, and for Tess and I, that's mariachi music. And then since, that band, we've been growing as American artists as well.
It was, when I read about how the band came together, I just thought that it was really fascinating. And Garrett, I think, is going to have to come in and talk a little bit about this, because, Tess, you got a gig playing for Cinco de Mayo. And so all of a sudden, Garrett gets drug in to play guitar. And Garrett, you've never really been, prior to this, you've never had like a lot of mariachi experience, right?
None at all.
And so it's like, okay, fine, you're an excellent musician, you can go in and do this, but it was a 4-hour gig, right? So, I mean, that is a lot of music to just sort of absorb overnight. You had to, you can't have had high confidence going in, right?
No, I was very worried. Very worried. But it was one of the most difficult musical things I've ever done, was try to learn that set of music in that short of time and have to be able to pull it off. And it's not like we've been listening to those songs for years and years, and Maria's asking me to learn Jukebox Hero by Foreigner, and I've known that and heard that on radio forever. This is a completely new set of music with completely new melodies. It was very difficult.
Yeah. But, I'm just guessing that it must have gone pretty well, because if it hadn't gone well, you all wouldn't still be together playing, right?
I think Garrett was already interested, because those two met before I met Garrett, and he was already interested, I think, in doing something musically. And then after our 4-hour gig, I think he was like, yes, let's take what I do and mix it with what you do and make something really awesome.
My impression is that even though you all came from the mariachi background, that you were playing around with other forms too before this. And that maybe, in a way, you even kind of circle back around to the mariachi roots. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we grew up clearly in the mariachi, but like we grew up with classic rock. Our dad listened to, various artists that we certainly feel like are an influence to our music now. And then when I was living out of state, Maria was in a blues band, and we had already done some folk performances. So we had kind of dabbled in a few different things And so I would say that certainly helped us when we came together and we were like, okay, this is what we want to do. And even though it's certainly hard to describe, it's like, these are all of the things that we really like.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that the things that I like the most are the things that are the hardest to describe, right? So you're living in a good space. We'd love to hear some more music if we could. Maria the Mexican. Maria the Mexican on the bridge, and of course the new CD, South of the Border Moonlight. Your first shot is the CD release party tomorrow night over at the Voodoo Lounge. And that just sounded great again. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you all in. You know, I think every account that I've ever read about the band sort of puts your grandmother right at the heart of everything. And she was really an interesting person because, you know, like if first of all, if you picture a mariachi band, not only do you not picture an all-female mariachi band, but you generally speaking, you know, imagine no women at all, right? That's a very rare thing. So I don't know if there was anybody else that had an all-female mariachi band, or if she was the first or the only or the, you know, but it was certainly fairly rare, correct?
Yeah, there was a list that came out just recently that we saw, and we were thinking that maybe she was the second or the third. So, I mean, that's all over the country. So she was certainly one of the first to start an all-female mariachi.
And the thing that happened that was really tragic was, she had the all-female mariachi band. They had a gig at the Hyatt the night that the Skywalks came down, and I'm assuming, were you tiny when that happened? Were you alive at that point? Do you have any?
Neither of us were alive.
Yeah,
Because I believe, I
just
don't know
a
the
glance
exact
in the
year.
eye. It was 81.
Yeah, so we were not alive.
Yeah, I didn't think you were. Four of the seven members of the band were killed that night, and I think it was a while before she came back to the music. And then when she did, it was partly as an educator, and some of her students were the two of you, about age 6.
Yeah, we both started playing in the mariachi when we were 11, but we kind of came out of the womb with the understanding that we would eventually be in the mariachi. So I learned the violin when I was 6, and Maria learned the piano, which was going to make it easier for her to transition over to the guitar.
And Maria, did you also play, and I'm going to mispronounce this horribly,
That's okay.
the vihuela?
Perfect. That's correct. Yeah, the
I
vihuela.
had to go to 3 different pronunciation sites before I found one that didn't sound robotic. And then I practiced. So, if I got anywhere at all in the neighborhood, I'm really proud.
You did. It was perfect.
So essentially, it's sort of like a Mexican 5-string guitar.
Yeah, kind of like to describe it as the Mexican mandolin. So it's very similar to the guitar in the sense that it has just 5 strings instead of 6, and they're the exact same, just missing the low E on top. So it's much smaller, of course, so it has a higher sound, and it's kind of the rhythmic instrument of the mariachi. And we actually were able to play it on a couple of the songs on the album.
So so you're in the band, and you all traveled and did gigs for like 10 years with her.
We were very busy.
We were crazy busy for being teenagers, and there were certainly times when we were like, this is terrible, because we were busy every weekend, and it was kind of like having 2 separate lives, because we would go to school, and we lived in a primarily white area, and we hung out with mainly white kids, and then we would go home and have a mariachi outfit and a sombrero that we would hang out in all weekend long.
And did the other high school kids, did they get it, or did they? I mean, did anybody treat you badly because of this?
No one treated us badly. And honestly, I feel like when people found out, they were like, that is so cool. And we were like, we really don't want to do this at school. We don't want to do this in front of our friends.
Yeah.
But we got such great response. At one point we even played, I was in orchestra, and I think we played with the entire orchestra, all 3 of us in our mariachi outfits in front of them. So
the secret came out.
Yeah, that's funny. So your mother passed a few years back, but I think that the moment that I loved reading about was prior to her death. She went to a gig at Knuckleheads with you all, and I got the feeling that night she was kind of exalted.
She absolutely loved it. I think she knew that we were doing Cascabel, which is actually a really hard mariachi song. And I think we had told her that we were going to do it. And so for her to hear that with a band and an electric guitar, she was so excited about it. She was just beaming ear to ear. And everybody treated her like she was the main event and kind of toted her around Knuckleheads, which is hilarious, like a hole-in-the-wall biker bar. But
yeah, they didn't really care about us. They just Los Lobos just wanted to meet Grandma. We were just with her.
And isn't that great that she got to meet Los Lobos? And I mean, did she understand who Los Lobos? I'm assuming she might have known that they were a pretty big deal.
Yeah, she knew who they were. Yeah, definitely.
So that's nice. And that was not too long before she passed.
Yeah, I want to say that was maybe within the year and a half.
Yeah.
So she didn't get to make it out to a lot of gigs, because certainly in the beginning, so many of our gigs were at 11 p.m. But she made it to a couple. And she really
she also made it to 93. So getting out and going down to Knuckleheads.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, and she was when we were in the band, she was still performing with us, and I want to say she performed up until she was in her late 80s. And she was always the one, even if we knew she was tired, she was like, keep going. We're going to do this gig and we're going to do that gig, and you better wear your sombrero, or don't take your sombrero off. So she was very gung-ho.
In a way, you've got to feel like you're fulfilling a family legacy. Is that too much weight?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's not. I mean, it's definitely a goal of our band. It's to carry on the music. She actually started to write out the music the mariachi music when it wasn't really charted often. And so it was really a goal for her to preserve this cultural, music, this element. And she always said, I want you to carry it on, carry it on. So that's definitely what we're trying to do in our own way.
Very cool. The new CD is called South of the Border Moonlight, and it is available tomorrow night at the Voodoo Lounge. It's going to be an awful lot of fun. You can find out more at mariathemexican.com, and I think we're adding another band member here for the next number.
Yes, we are.
It's Chad Boyston from the Grand Marquis on the trumpet.
All right, great. We'd love to hear some more music. Maria the Mexican on the bridge.
1, 2, 3.
Separaremos, pero el invierno viene. No puedo estar aquí mucho más tiempo. No te preocupes, mi corazón es tuyo. Tú adelante que yo te sigo. Voy a echar el ojo. Que yo te sigo. Que yo te sigo. Brisa a las playas cálidas. El amor nunca se desvanecerá. Espérame, ahí estaré. Estaremos juntos para siempre. Tú ven adelante que yo te sigo. Voy a echar el ojo. Que yo te sigo. Que yo te sigo. No tenemos secreto. Por el cielo ya ascendé. Los arqueros disparan flechas. Recordaré el corazón. Espero que nunca nos separaremos, pero el invierno viene. No puedo estar aquí mucho más tiempo. No te preocupes, mi corazón es tuyo. Tú ven adelante que yo te sigo. Voy a echar el ojo. Que yo te sigo. Que yo te sigo. Que yo te sigo. Voy a echar el ojo. Que yo te sigo.
I just can't think of a better way to spend a Thursday afternoon. That was a lot of fun. Maria the Mexican in our studios, and I can't wait for everybody else to get a chance to hear the full new CD, South of the Border Moonlight. It's available on a special CD release party tomorrow night over at the Voodoo Lounge, and encourage everybody to check that out. Again, the website, mariathemexican.com. Thanks so much for coming in. This is a lovely treat.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Maria the Mexican on the bridge. Mexican on the bridge.